to the aggrieved. Kshitivrittiman, accepting the profession of the earth. Titikshat akramam vainya, upari akramatam api, bhutanam karuna shashvad, artanam kshitivrittiman. Titikshatyakramam vainya, upari akramatamapi, bhutanam karuna shashvad, artanam kshitivrittiman. Titikshatakramam vainya, uparyakramatamapi, bhutanam karuna shashvad, artanam kshitivrittiman. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charana Aravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This king, Prithu, will be very, very kind to all citizens. Even though a poor person may trample over the king's head by violating the rules and regulations, the king, out of his causeless mercy, will be forgetful and forgiving. As a protector of the world, he will be as tolerant as the earth itself. Purport. King Prithu is herein compared to the earthly planet as far as his tolerance is concerned. Although the earth is always trampled upon by men and animals, it still gives food to them by producing grains, fruits and vegetables. As an ideal king, Maharaj Prithu is compared to the earth planet, for even though some citizens might violate the rules and regulations of the state, he would still be tolerant and maintain them with fruits and grains. In other words, it is the duty of the king to look after the comforts of the citizens, even at the cost of his own personal convenience. This is not the case, however, in Kali Yuga. For Kali Yuga, the kings and heads of state enjoy life at the cost of taxes exacted from the citizens. Such unfair taxation makes the people dishonest, and the people try to hide their income in so many ways. Eventually, the state will not be able to collect taxes and consequently will not be able to meet its huge military and administrative expenses. Everything will collapse and there will be chaos and disturbance all over the state. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadate Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhobhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Neelachala Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannathaya Te Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So today we are continuing with the glories of King Prithu, which are being recited by all the professional reciters who are foretelling his qualities which is going to exhibit in the future. So in this, King Prithu is compared to different this one. Then yesterday he was compared to to his power, how he will be powerful as the sun god. And today he is being compared to Mother Earth, who exhibits the quality of the tolerance. So today we'll discuss a little more on this topic of especially the tolerance, why we should tolerate or how we should tolerate, and some examples from the scriptures who exhibited the tolerance. And as Prabhupada mentions in the purport beginning, although the earth is always trampled upon by men and animal, it still gives food to them by producing grains, fruits and vegetables. And not only that, we trample at another place also in 11th canto. What is the Mother Earth's tolerance is mentioned in 11.7.37. That how this tells about the tolerance, where in the purport it's mentioned about the tolerance of the earth. Bhutair akramyamanopi dhiro daiva vashanugai tad vidwan na chaled margad anvashikshan kshiter pratam. Here the word anvashiksham, that take now this the Navyogendras, in that section it is coming. They're telling that what I have learned from the Mother Earth is that how she tolerates, even despite being whatever is done to her. A sober person, even when harassed by other living beings, should understand that his aggressors are acting helplessly under the control of God, and thus he should never be distracted from progress on his own path. This rule I have learned from the earth. The earth is symbol of tolerance. We do so many things to the mother earth. We drill the hole to extract the oil, or for the purpose of the water. So many places we go up to 500, 600, 800,000 feet down, and even for the atomic explosions, pollutions, and so on, the earth is constantly harassed by demoniac living entities. And that was the thing Mother Earth also was pained, and she goes to Lord for the sake of telling that because of these demonic people, their weight I am not able to carry. And that was the time Lord also, the beginning of the Krishna Leela, where he agrees that he's going to come in soon, in some time. Mother Earth in the form of the cow, she goes there. Sometimes lush forests are cut down by greedy men with commercial interest, and thus a wasteland is created. Sometimes the earth's surface is soaked by the bloods of soldiers fighting in savage war. We see in the so many wars right now, also Ukraine and the Russia. Yet, despite all these disturbances, the earth continues to provide all the necessities of living beings. In this way, one may learn the art of tolerance by studying the earth. So, the king or a leader also is supposed to be tolerant. So, what happens if he doesn't tolerate? Then one thing we need to understand, that someone else has tolerated us when we were also small, or in terms of age when we are small, or in our practice of Krishna consciousness also in the beginning. Just like every one of us have grown up because our mothers have tolerated so much when we were very young. Sometimes we become so adamant for wanting something. Or in the dead of the night, we may get up and cry and create so many. But the parents, they tolerate and take care of the child. In the same way, as a leader or a king or a one who is a head of the state, he should tolerate the small or what are the mistakes one does, and he cannot just shoot down the people or remove them. That's why here also Prabhupada writes, Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani ki, Shri Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Dev ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Maharaj Prutu, even though some citizens might violate the rules and regulations of the state, he would be tolerant and maintain them with fruits and grains. It is the duty of the king to look after the comforts of the citizens, even at the cost of his own personal convenience. That means the king may, or the leader, he may have some inconvenience, and he should be ready to undergo that for the sake of providing the convenience to others. I mean, as a leader, he should worry about giving comfort to the other people. That's what we see in Srila Prabhupada also. When Srila Prabhupada was started the Mayapur project, immediately first thing he tried or planned was the construction of the building for the devotees to stay. So that's what we see. Even Srila Prabhupada was so much concerned about, even if we see in his initial days of how he had to tolerate so many things. Although Prabhupada being a Vaishnava, he could have stayed in the Vrindavan and continued his bhajan. But because to fulfill the desires of his spiritual master, he took so much of inconveniences tolerating so many difficulties, and especially in the Western world, staying in the Bowery, and the people are, they don't have any of the basic mannerisms. But still Prabhupada was staying with them, tolerating. Even the first place where he stayed, he had to store his food items in the same fridge where the meat was also there. So he is ready to tolerate all those things so that he can give this Krishna consciousness to the others. The same way, there are so many other places also in the scriptures where it mentions that this quality of titiksha or tolerance is very much important for a sadhu or a saintly person or as a practicing devotee. Even in the Svayam Prakash, when he sees that Dhruva Maharaj is very aggressive in fighting with the Yakshas and is trying to annihilate the whole Yaksha dynasty, that time in 4:11:13, he advises Dhruva Maharaj that Titikshaya Karunaya Maitra Chakila Cha Akila Jantushu Samatvena Cha Sarvatma Bhagavan Samprasidati. How the Supreme Personality of Godhead can become, he can be satisfied is mentioned in this verse. He says that in that the first one he says Titikshaya, that by tolerance. The Lord is very satisfied with his devotees when the devotee greets other people with tolerance, mercy, friendship and equality. So how he interacts with the other people, that especially with the devotees whom we stay, because with those whom we may meet once in a while, it's very easy to have good relationship, or we may be having awe and reverence and all. But then when we are regularly seeing, regularly staying with them, that is with them the challenge comes. Here he says we should greet other devotees. So I was hearing to Devakinandan Prabhu's class from Singapore, Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj disciple. He was telling that Prabhupada uses this word greet. That means when we interact with other devotees also, it should not be just an external haribol, just for the sake of speaking, but it should be from the heart, and with all this, with the feeling, we should be interacting. So, and Prabhupada in the Purport mentions about the 3 levels of the devotees, the Kanishtadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, Uttamadhikari, and how there is the quality of a Madhyamadhikari who deals with the 4 kinds of people in 4 different ways. And while mentioning that, in that the most is, first one should, when one is tolerant, only when he has this quality of the tolerance, then he can be merciful, and he can meet others, and he can share the Krishna consciousness or this one with the others. Otherwise, without having this quality of tolerance, he may not even be able to take up anything or interact with anyone. The moment when the other person is not listening, or he is going against or does something which is not according to one's nature, then immediately one may try to put him off or try to negate him or something. So in that connection, how everybody has different nature. So when Prahlad Maharaj, he meets the Avadut, and while interacting with him, the Avadut Brahmana says one verse wherein he says that the different people have different nature, and how one should not be so much disturbed by these things. This is 7:13:42. In it says, Naham nindena cha stomi swabhava vishamam janam etesham shreya ashase utaikatmyam Mahatmani. Different people are of different mentalities. We see all of us have different likings, and everyone's liking may not be the same. So I may like something, the other person may like something, and because of which our tastes may be different. So therefore it is not my business either to praise them or to blaspheme them. I desire their welfare, hoping that they will agree to become one with the Super Soul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So, many times it is our nature, also I have seen that the other person should do the same way as I want to do. If I am a perfectionist, then I expect the other person also should be like that on the perfectionist. Even in the design, this line should be red or it should be at this stage, this much only. So then what happens is that the other person may get like too much pressed or something, and then next time when we want something, then the other person may give some reasons. Or if I am too liberal and when someone else is very strict or something, then I become disturbed. So that way we can, when we see that the different people have different mentalities, so that way we need not have to impose it on the others and expect that they should be like me only. Rather we can try to see what is best for the sake of the service. So when it comes to the outcome, even sometimes the efficiency may be less. If I am very perfectionist and that may give me 100% outcome, and if the other person may not be, it may be just 70%, it is better to keep the good relation and go with the 70% or 80% than to achieve 100% and spoil the relationship. So that's why when we understand this, that each person is not like me, and I have to tolerate their inabilities, or sometimes I have to match with their expectations. I may not have that inclination, still for the sake of pleasing them. So when you understand, then we may not mind tolerating the others, or we may not mind bending ourselves as per their requirements. So, and this tolerance, Krishna even in the Bhagavad Gita, beginning of the 2nd chapter only, he tells, while mentioning that this material world is a place of dualities. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukhadukkada agama apaino nitya stamsitiksha subharta. That in this place, which is filled with these dualities, dvandva, it will be sometimes there will be sukha, sometimes dukkha, sometimes when it is misery comes, it is very easy to remember the Lord, because at the time of difficulty we need some shelter and we remember the Lord. Oh, Lord is there for the shelter. But when it comes sukha or happiness, when things are going nicely, that is the time we are not in need of anything. So chances of forgetting or going away from the Lord or taking Him to be easy. When there are difficulties, our intensity in the chanting becomes very much. We intensely chant, praying that, but Lord, please remove this anartha or let this phase get over. But when everything is fine, then the same intensity or the prayerful mood or the dependency on the Lord's holy name is not there. So that's why Krishna says that all these things, it comes and goes. We just need to tolerate. Once a king announced in the jail that if any of the prisoners, if they can give me some gift, by seeing which it makes me happy and as well as it should make me sorrow, then I'll release them immediately. And everybody were wondering what to give. Then one prisoner came and gave the ring to the king. And then immediately king released. The other prisoners became very much curious to know what is there in the ring, that we also could have given the ring, which made the king to release. And they asked, what was so special? He said, I just written something on the ring. What was there? And he said, this too shall pass away. When the king is very happy, he sees that ring and, oh, this happiness is going to pass away. He would become sorrow. And when he is in a sorrow state, sad, when he sees that, oh, this too shall pass away, it's also going to go away. So he would become happy. So that way, this material world is made in such a way that for us to become tolerant. And even the quality of the sadhu, when it is mentioned, like now there what is the sadhu bhushana, that also mentions the same, that titikshava karunika sirda sarvadehinam ajata shatrava shanta sadhava sadhu bhushana. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Here also, he is mentioned as very tolerant. We see the devotees of the Lord, they go to any extent of tolerating others. Right from the Adi Guru, who is Nityananda Prabhu, when he was hit by the Jagai Madai, that time, he didn't retaliate or he didn't take the action. He is Ananta Shesh himself. The same Nityananda Prabhu, when he came in the Leela of Lord Ramachandra as Lakshmana, the moment he came to know that Lord Ram was banished to the forest, he becomes so furious. He tells, who is that who is sending you? Is it the Dashrath Maharaj? I'll kill him. I don't mind destroying my own father. And the same thing we see when Sugriva, after 4 months of the Chaturmasya, when he doesn't come back for serving Lord Ram, he becomes so furious that, okay, let me kill him. He has that, so much of fears this one. But the same in the form of, when he came as Nityananda Prabhu, he is so tolerant. Although he is being beaten and the blood is coming, but still he is not doing anything. So, for the sake of, when it is trouble comes on oneself, one doesn't mind tolerating. So that Nityananda Prabhu wanted him to at least, he says, what the blood or the pain which you have caused, that is not, I'm not feeling the pain of that, but I'm feeling the pain that you are not chanting the names of the Lord. So, for the sake of giving Krishna consciousness to others, one may ready to undergo any tribulations and the troubles. So, even we see in the case of Srila Prabhupada also, what all he had to tolerate, even right from the his own things being stolen, or even his clothes being worn by people who doesn't know the basic things also. And to the extent again to serve the Lord, when it came to Juhu land, so much of troubles were one after the other. And sometimes the different things which is caused by the outside people or even amongst the devotees, but still for the sake of spreading Krishna consciousness, he was ready to tolerate. It's mentioned that once there was a king who, for the sake of, when he was going, when he had chariot was parked for some time for taking rest, one of the creeper, it had climbed on the wheel. Seeing that the creeper is climbing on the chariot wheel, he left the chariot there only and he went by walk to the kingdom. So that means the leader is ready to take the inconvenience for oneself for giving the best or the making the other person convenient or comfort. Even we see in case of Haridas Thakur also, that how he tolerated when he was beaten at 22 marketplaces, he was tolerant. Or even when he was being blasphemed, uh, for the sake of ruining his name, when Ramachandra Khan sends the Lakshahira, that time although he could have left the place and then he stayed there just for the sake of that prostitute. So one thing is, when it comes to tolerating, first thing is one should tolerate one's own senses and the urges. That's what the beginning of the nectar of instruction, which says that the 6 urges are there, which are so prominent, and a leader has to tolerate those 6 urges, or only when one tolerates, then he can have the disciples all over the world. Vacha vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jihva vegam, udarupastha vegam. So these are the 6 vegas or the urges which push from within. Then one need to tolerate. Just because the urges are there, one cannot freely or indulge in that. So one has to tolerate that, the urges. So that is a vega sahishnuta that one needs to tolerate. And also, as I said, Krishna is also telling we need to tolerate the dualities of the material world, because our mentality is that of the wanting to control. But although we want to control, but the material nature is made in such a way that we are humbled many times, that we want to control the situation or the things which goes completely against our wants or what we expect. So, and apart from that, we see even Jesus Christ, for the sake of preaching, one needs to tolerate. Otherwise, if one doesn't have this tolerance, then one may not be able to give Krishna consciousness to others. When the people come in the beginning, they may not know many of the etiquettes or what needs to be done, what to be done, what not to be done. And if we are not tolerant, and if we just try to directly find fault or pinpoint, hey, don't do this, hey, don't do that. And that too, especially if we do the same thing in front of everyone, when everyone is standing and somebody does there. From here only if I tell, hey, Prabhu, then immediately he'll be kind of feel, what you can say, feels ashamed that being corrected in front of the others. That's why correction in private and praise in front of everyone. If you want to praise, we can take a mic and loudly we can shout and announce their glories. But if you want to correct or say something negative or improvements, then personally we can go one-to-one, sit aside and tell. So otherwise, we are trying to bring people or trying to preach and have more and more devotees, but meanwhile what is happening is, because of this attitude or the external action, we may lose out the people and nobody may want to come to us. And also we see we want to tolerate, as I was telling, our own senses, and the best way to do that is, many times the situations may come in different ways. If we can, rather than counteracting that, accept it as the mercy of the Lord or the plan of the Lord, then to a greater extent, we can be peaceful. That we see in the case of Parikshit Maharaj also, that even there which he says that even if he is, to the extent of if he is killed, still he doesn't retaliate. So Parikshit Maharaj also, when he was cursed, immediately he didn't retaliate or something, he just accepted it as it's a plan of the Lord, let me undergo whatever has to happen. And another very nice example we see is case of Durvasa Muni and Ambarish Maharaj. When Ambarish Maharaj was just took little bit of Charanamrit for the sake of the breaking the fast, at that time Durvas Muni became so angry that he could not just tolerate this small. It was not even breaking of the etiquette or breaking of the rule also. All he took is Charanamrit, and that too, as per the scriptures, Amrish Maharaj says that it is as good as breaking the fast and not breaking the fast. So that way he had not violated anything. Still, for this small thing, Durvasa Muni took such a big stand of creating a demon and wanting to destroy Amrish Maharaj. One thing that creating a demon, and even after that, Amrish Maharaj he didn't retaliate anything. He accepted it, and he was ready to, okay, if I am going to be killed, I am ready. But for the protection, when the Sudarshan Chakra came, when Durvasa Muni went all around and came back, again at the end we see that he was just still waiting for Durvasa Muni come and accept this one. And even after that, he didn't had any negative ill feeling towards Durvasa Muni. That is the extent of a devotee. How he can tolerate all the adversities which may come upon his life. When we see in case of Jesus Christ also, when he was crucified, he was begging for, mighty Lord, please, they don't know what they are doing, please forgive them. The same thing we see in case of Quresh, when he goes disguising himself as Ramanujacharya, exchanging the dress, and when his eyes were pierced, and when he comes back to Srirangam and Ramanujacharya asks that go and ask for the eyes, he says, my dear Lord, please forgive those people who did this to me. So when one is tolerant, he doesn't take the other person's mistake or anything as a insult or a difficulty. Rather, he forgets it and forgives. That's what here also it is mentioning. The king out of his causeless mercy will be forgetful and forgiving. When we are tolerant, then we may forget whatever mistakes are done by others, and then we may be able to forgive others. Otherwise, the revengeful attitude that remains in our mind and constantly it will be like a blazing fire. More than the other person, we will be burnt in that revengeful attitude. That constantly thinking about, I think I should have said this, I should have done that, I should have done this. Practically the whole mind, the whole chanting will go in that. I remember when I was serving in SRM Voice, there was one owner who cheated some money, took the advance and he was not returning. Practically so many days, the whole morning program, Japa would go in that only. I think I should have done this. I should have gone and spoken to him. Or when I went to his house, I think I should have did this or done that. And practically the whole Japa is gone. At the end of the 16th round, realizing that, okay, today rather than Krishna's meditation, I was meditating on that owner. So many times it happens. So when we can forget those things and forgive, and it doesn't mean that we just get cheated. But at the same time, if you have this attitude of doing the needful and not keeping that vengeance, then we can be peaceful. And even to the extent of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also tolerates. When it came to, when Advait Sarvam Bhattacharya had invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for prasadam in his house, he goes there and so many wonderful items were made by Sarvam Bhattacharya, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is sitting and he says, just give me little bit of simple items. Then Sarvam Bhattacharya says, my dear Lord, I know who you are. You accept so many things in the form of the Giriraj, so this is nothing. You can accept all this. At that time exactly the son-in-law of Sarvam Bhattacharya, Amogha, he comes. And he, the first time he was he was chased by Sarvam Bhattacharya, and again he comes. And he says, sannyasi and taking like this, all this, so many items. And immediately Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, what he is like, no, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he takes the stick and goes chasing him. And even his wife, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's wife, she says that let my daughter become a widow. That means telling that like even if no mother or father will feel that like no, my wife or sorry, my daughter should become a widow, should lose her husband. But she is telling let him die, let my daughter become widow. I don't mind because of this incident. And eventually he, like no, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tolerates this insult and then he doesn't take it. He says what he is saying is correct. As a sadhu or as sannyasi, I should not be eating so much. And then like no, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu leaves. And then eventually he gets the cholera and then still Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't keep the vengeance. See, why should I go to him or something? He comes and like no, he touches Amoga and then his cholera gets over. So that way, although whatever happens, when one tolerates the situations at that time and later forgets and forgives, then one can be touch the heart of the other person and also preach. Even we see Srila Prabhupada, although so much of trouble was given to for the sake of building temple in the Juhu, but later when Mr. N was dead and gone, after that when his wife comes there, Prabhupada was so like a daughter, do you need anything, can I do something for you? Prabhupada was not remembering that, see, so much troubles they have created, why should I be worried about them? No. So that is the nature of a sadhu or a leader, that he tolerates others and then forgives and forgets what is done by them. And he is like now kind, karunaha. Because of this kind-hearted nature, they want to give what is best for them. And at the end also Prabhupada writes, this is what they don't mind giving up their own conveniences for the sake, taking inconvenience for the sake of giving convenience to others. But whereas in the modern times we see completely the dead opposite, wherein the Prabhupada is mentioning that how in the previous time the kings were taking the trouble to give comfort to the citizens, but in the modern times for their own comfort they are ready to trouble the others and take so much of taxation, and by which the people wants to cheat. When they see that the king is trying to take everything for himself and enjoy, then they also want to enjoy for themselves. And because of which day to day we all know so many, although the government made this the currency was changed, all the corruption has gone down many times, but still there are so many different ways GST is made, but still so many ways the GST can be bypassed or what all happens. So that way when the leader is not following, then the followers also will not be eager to follow. And Prabhupada writes that eventually the state will not be able to collect taxes and consequently will not be able to meet its huge military and administrative expenses. Everything will collapse and there will be chaos and disturbance all over the state. So this is what the things going to happen in this world. But as a sadhaka, yes, we need to best out of the bad bargain. So try to take the advantage, and if you keep set right the problems in this world, which is never going to happen, and that is not the purpose of this world. So do the needful and intensify our practice of Krishna consciousness, preach as much as possible, and then we try to leave from this place. So otherwise, tolerate whatever the difficulties come and keep moving. Otherwise, we'll be just stuck up in these small things and we may not be able to either progress in our own spiritual life nor contribute to the society. So these were few things which I just thought of sharing. If any of you have any questions, queries. Or
Right. As you mentioned, for an individual, it is, we need to tolerate ourselves first on this 6 Vegas you mentioned. But if you see in this, it's Prithvi Maharaj's, it's mentioned that he'll tolerate like earth. But exactly it is going to contradict in the next chapter, because he's going to chase earth itself, becoming angry on earth. And even Nityananda Prabhu, as devotee incarnation, he has tolerated Jagai Madai. But the same Nityananda Prabhu as Balramji, he could not, he didn't, he punished Romartian. So is it that if the person who is committing mistake, if he is in a leadership position and he has some dependence on him, that cannot be tolerated. That's what it appears here also, as in that Romartian is also leader of that society, and here also earth is supposed to provide for the living beings on the earth. And we see that in Prabhupada's life also, that when the 3 sannyasis, they propagated wrong teachings that Prabhupada is God, Prabhupada expelled them from ISKCON.
correct.
But I think small other mistakes Prabhupada has forgiven. So is it that if some youngers do mistake, that has to be tolerated and corrected, but if somebody is in leadership position, if he does mistake, it has to be punished?
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu, what you said is correct. Especially like if it is for one's inconveniences or something, one may tolerate. But if the mistake is causing trouble to the others, or creating problem, or it is not as per the scriptures, then one should not be tolerating. At least as a leader, he should not be tolerate those things. As you gave the examples, like Prabhupada also, he was not tolerating. Some people, there are so many other people say, I don't say I am God, but my followers say. So Prabhupada didn't do that. So that way, when those mistakes, or like Balramji also, Romartian Sutta, he wanted to teach that, what should be the right etiquette. He's not following this one right thing. Then the others may take it as a benchmark. So for teaching others, he may take the right action and not tolerate. Even if suppose while staying amongst the devotees, if somebody is creating problem which is disturbing personally oneself, something, that one may tolerate if the simple things. But if it is in terms of the somebody is breaking the regulative principle or something, staying in the amongst devotees, that we cannot, let us tolerate. No, we may have to do the needful. Okay, if the devotee has any difficulty, not able to follow, breaking the regulative principles, so one may do the needful of making a strict policy that no, you have to leave this place, you cannot stay. But at the same time, he should have the soft-heartedness as a person and do the needful outside. You stay outside, but yes, I'll personally help you to practice Krishna consciousness, whatever I can do. No. But this you cannot do, staying because you are not able to follow, or you are disturbing others. And Lord is now tolerating all of us, and He is coming with us as Paramatma in no matter whichever life or whichever species we go, but still He is tolerating and just waiting for us to turn towards Him. So in front of His tolerance, ours is nothing. So thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.